I'm J. Rachel Edidin.
And I'm Miles Stokes.
And we're the hosts of Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast all about the ins, the outs, and the retcons of our favorite superhero soap opera.
We're also the hosts of Jay and Miles Review the X-Men,
which you're watching right now,
where we talk about the X books that come out each week.
This week we are looking at the Soul Book of April 20th, 2016. And after briefly considering a date-appropriate degree of chemical impairment, we decided to instead overcompensate by just being really tired. So
also by accidentally matching.
Yeah, we did
How did
that.
We do
That's
that?
the thing. We do that. We've done that like every day this week so far.
You're with somebody for 20 years, these things happen, I guess.
We have a lot of basically the same shirt.
It's true.
It's true.
Anyway, let's talk about Extraordinary X-Men.
Our only X book this week is Extraordinary X-Men number 9, written by Jeff Lemire, penciled by Humberto Ramos, inked by Victor Olazaba, and colored by Edgar Delgado. This is so solid. We've been waiting really since the start for the series to finally find its footing, and with the last 2 issues, it feels like it actually has.
But this one especially. Now, it's kind of a weird issue in that it focuses mainly on the students from the Xavier School or Jean Grey School or whatever it's being called right now, rather than the old X-Men.
I don't know. I mean, this is the school book. This is the school series. And so we've seen more and more focus on those students. And honestly, I think the students are the most interesting part of the series.
They totally are. And Anole and Glob Herman and No Girl and Ernst, they've been around for like a really long time and everyone forgets that. It's about damn time they got some spotlight.
They're also a great set of characters to showcase Ramos and the way he draws.
Yeah.
The way he draws facial expressions, the way he draws characters, work with the grown-ups. With the kids, they are just out of the park spectacular.
I especially like his Ernst. Ernst, if you're not familiar, is a female character who looks very, very old, even though she's quite young. And that's a hard look to nail, and Ramos does it, like, effortlessly.
He also does a really good job at making Glob Herman expressive. That's really hard to do because, for example, he can't narrow his eyes. He can't really change the alignment of his eyes and his face at all. That really limits the facial expressions you can use. In general, the fact that he's basically a see-through floating mass of bones and organs also contributes to that. But yeah, man, his Anole actually is my favorite. Anole. I should know how to pronounce that. I grew up in South Florida.
Anoles, they're a type of lizard, and they're freaking everywhere in South Florida. Like, there's just hundreds, thousands.
So many.
Yes,
so many. None of them are as cool as this one.
No. Let's talk a little bit about the plot. So this is what happens with the kids in the year they're missing since the last issue when they traveled through time. And what happens is so many cool, unexpected, awesome things.
Yeah, this is a fantastic montage issue, and it does a really tremendous job in 20 pages of giving just a tremendous sense of scope of these kids adrift in an enormous, varied, and really hostile world.
Right, that's Omega World, which is the sort of post-apocalyptic world that we have, 1,000-something years in the future. And in a way, it's kind of like Battle World, in that there are different sort of themed spheres based around different bits of the world that were left. But it's just so inventive and strange and fascinating.
This is also how you do a mystery right. This is sort of a backwards reveal in this. We know about at least one major twist and one major thing that's shifted in the dynamic of the group that first showed up in this. I'm not going to spoil that. We don't know how it came to be. And, the last issue ended with the reveal of these kids a year older than they had been.
And physically very changed.
And this is how you do that kind of spooled out gradual reveal. This is what you should have been doing with the Noodle incident, Marvel.
Yeah, the pacing of this, because it starts out day 1, and then we see day 6, et cetera, over the course of a year with, more and more time passing between each reveal. And there's actually this one 2-page spread that goes over most of that year. And I love that it doesn't tell us much. I love that we just see one little panel in each world, in each part of the year. A bunch of stuff has clearly passed. The kids have clearly learned a lot more about this world and are adapting to it. And we as the readers just get this sense of, you guys have been through so much. And it's awesome.
I gotta say, it feels so good to see this book come together as tightly as it has in this specific issue. This is, I think I've said pretty much every week, this is a creative team and a premise that should be compelling. This is, if you just look at the credits, if you look at the description and the solicitation around this book, this should be one of my top series. And this week demonstrated why. If they can keep this up, if they can keep this tone and this momentum, this is going to be a really, really solid title finally.
So in this one book week, what's our issue of the week?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a foregone conclusion, but I would say even with one book, it's actually solidly earned it this week. Extraordinary X-Men #9. Well done. That's our issue of the week. We have a much wider selection to choose from for panel, and as you mentioned, this is a book with really, really solid art, and where the art serves the story really well. What have we got there?
Yeah, we went back and forth. There were so many good options, but what we ended up with was this comparatively very simple panel right here, because it's sort of a microcosm of what makes this issue work. It's this group of characters in this world that's just vast and overwhelming and alien, and looking at just the way the sort of robot-y people, the Stark Self, I believe they're called, are just arrayed out into the distance with these buildings rising in the far distance, and the kids' body language as they're just overwhelmed by it, it captures it well.
And how deftly that's handled with relatively little detail is a really impressive feat of storytelling. I will say there is another panel that almost ended up our panel of the week that's not from this book. We decided against it just because putting it up on the screen would be a spoiler.
And that was the last page of New Avengers #10 this week. This is a really fun book. If you haven't been following it, it's not really very X-Men-y, although it does have Sunspot, but there's a lot to love about what happens on that last page. So if you need some incentive to go check it out, you should probably check it out. That is it for this week. Thanks for watching.
If you like what you've seen here, but think it would be way better without our faces and inadvertent matching shirts, check out our podcast, Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. New episodes go up every Sunday at explainthexmen.com, also on iTunes, Stitcher, and as of this week, Google Play.
Indeed, check that out.
What have we got this week?
This week we are at long last starting Inferno. We're starting it with a not terribly well-known miniseries called X-Terminators, featuring the X-Factor kids being kind of ridiculous with awesome art by John Bogdanov. It's actually a whole lot of fun. Check it out.
Amazing outfits.
Oh yeah, seriously, so good.
That podcast, these video reviews, and everything at explainthexmen.com, including the Noodle Incident contest, whose results will go up tomorrow. It's Friday. Are brought to you by our Patreon subscribers. We are an entirely listener-supported project. That's what lets us keep doing all of this stuff and doing it entirely ad-free. If you want to join the fine folks who make all of this possible, you can do that at the link either above or below this podcast, depending on where you're watching.
In the meantime, we will see you next week with probably shirts that are different colors.
Maybe.
Take care. And that is it for this week. Thanks for watching.
Sorry.
Thank you for watching, Jay.
I wasn't really, though. That's the problem.
You can't see anything through those, can you?
I can see through these to what extent I can see anything without prescription glasses, which is limited. I can see that there's stuff going on the screen and that it's roughly the shape of two people and that they're both wearing red.
Can you see everyone slowly dying like Raceland with his hourglass eyes?
I mean, it's very blurry, so maybe.